They say when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I didn't. I watched him build an empire on my back, smile for the camera, and plan my exit behind the lens I was holding. Welcome to the last lesson. I'm here to share the stories we don't usually tell, the messy, painful, beautiful truths about love and betrayal. If this resonates, subscribe. You're not alone here. I met him on a Tuesday. Isn't it funny how the most life-changing moments happen on the most ordinary days? I was 20 years old, working part-time at a coffee shop near campus, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. He walked in with a camera in one hand and a tripod under his arm, looking frustrated because the lighting in his apartment wasn't working for his setup. Rough day, I asked, handing him his iced Americano. He looked up and I swear it was like something out of a movie. Those dark eyes, that slightly messy hair, the genuine smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. You have no idea, he laughed. I'm trying to build this thing, you know? A platform. But it's like screaming into the void sometimes. What kind of platform? Content creation. Lifestyle stuff, motivation, realness. I want to inspire people. He said it with such conviction, such passion. I'm at 5,000 followers right now, but I just know this is going to be something big. I believed him. God, I believed every word. We talked for 20 minutes that day. He told me about his vision, his dreams, how social media was the future, and he was going to ride that wave all the way to the top. He asked about me too, what I studied, what I loved, what kept me up at night. And here's the thing, he actually listened. Or at least I thought he did. He came back the next day, and the day after that. Within 2 weeks, we were inseparable. Dating him felt like being swept up in a hurricane. Exciting, intense, consuming. He had this energy about him, this hunger for success that was intoxicating. He'd talk about his goals until 3 in the morning, mapping out content strategies, analyzing what went viral and why. I'd never met anyone so driven. You're going to do it, I told him one night as we sat on his apartment floor, editing footage on his laptop. I can feel it. You're going to be huge. He kissed my forehead. We're going to do it. You and me. I couldn't do this without you. I held on to that word. We. I started helping him with everything. At first, it was small stuff, holding the camera while he filmed, giving feedback on his captions, helping him pick which photos to post. But then it became more. I'd spend hours editing his videos while he brainstormed the next one. I'd wake up early to film morning routine, content with him before my classes. I'd stay up late researching trending sounds, optimal posting times, engagement strategies. His following started to grow. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. Every milestone felt like ours. When he hit 100,000 followers, he took me to dinner and told me I was his good luck charm, his secret weapon. I remember thinking I'd never been happier. You should be in more of my content, he said one day, scrolling through his analytics. Couple content performs really well. People love relationship stuff. It's authentic, you know? So I became part of his brand. The supportive girlfriend. The girl next door who believed in her boyfriend's dreams. We filmed day-in-the-life videos, relationship Q&As, challenges, pranks. His comment section loved us. You guys are so real. This is what love looks like. Relationship goals, honestly. I read those comments and felt validated, like our love was being witnessed and approved by thousands of people. It felt special, important. But somewhere around 200,000 followers, things started shifting. It was subtle at first. He'd get annoyed if I wasn't camera ready when he wanted to film. Babe, can you fix your hair? This lighting is perfect right now, we can't waste it. He'd reshoot scenes multiple times if I didn't say my lines, sorry, my natural response is the right way. Can you say that again, but more enthusiastic? Look at me like you're actually happy. No, that smile looks fake. Be genuine. I told myself it was just the pressure of building something. That perfectionism was part of success. That all creators probably did this. He started caring more about aesthetics. Our dates had to be in photogenic locations. My outfits needed to match the vibe of his feed. He'd get quiet and distant if a video didn't perform well, and I learned to tiptoe around his moods, trying to cheer him up, offering to help brainstorm better ideas. You don't understand the algorithm, he'd say when I suggested maybe taking a break. If I'm not consistent, I'll lose momentum. This is how you build an empire. An empire. That word started appearing more often, along with brand, aesthetic, engagement rate, monetization. The language of love was slowly being replaced by the language of business. When he hit 500,000 followers, a few small brands reached out for sponsorships. I watched him negotiate deals, calculate his rates, talk about himself as a product. He was good at it. Scarily good. This is just the beginning, he told me, eyes glowing in the light of his phone screen as he checked his notifications for the 100th time that day. Once I hit 1 million, everything changes. Real money. Real opportunities. We'll celebrate when you get there, I said, wrapping my arms around him from behind. He patted my hand, absently, not looking away from his screen. Yeah, definitely. I should have noticed the way he said I instead of we. I should have noticed a lot of things. Like how he'd started angling his phone away when he typed. How he'd take calls in the other room. How he'd reshoot videos I'd filmed, saying he needed better angles, but never letting me see the final edits before he posted them. How he'd started introducing me to new people as someone who helps with my content instead of my girlfriend. How his eyes would light up when pretty girls commented on his posts, but glaze over when I talked about my day. But I didn't notice. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to believe what I was seeing. Because I loved him. And love, I thought, meant giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Meant being patient. Meant supporting them even when they didn't support you back. I kept filming. Kept editing. Kept showing up. Kept believing that once things calmed down, once he reached his goals, he'd remember what we had. He'd remember me. His follower count kept climbing. 700,000. 900,000. And with every 100,000 new followers, I felt him slip a little further away. But I held on. Because that's what you do when you love someone, right? You hold on. Even when your hands start to bleed. The night he hit 2 million followers, I expected celebration. Instead, I got a text that said, "We need to talk." Those 4 words felt like watching a building collapse in slow motion. He wanted to meet at a coffee shop. Not the one where we met. Somewhere neutral, he said. Somewhere public. I should have known then. When someone who used to pull you into bed to celebrate every small win suddenly needs a public space to talk to you, it's never good news. I wore the dress he liked. Did my makeup the way he always said looked best on camera. Isn't that pathetic? Even knowing something was wrong, I was still trying to be perfect for him. Still trying to be enough. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in the corner with his phone face down on the table. That alone was unusual. His phone was never face down. It was practically an extension of his hand, always buzzing with notifications, always demanding his attention. "Hey," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hey." He didn't smile, didn't kiss me, just looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before, like I was a problem he needed to solve. "So 2 million, I tried, forcing brightness into my voice. "That's incredible. We should. I need space." The words hit me like cold water. What? Space. To focus on my brand. This is a critical time, and I need to be strategic about everything. My image, my content, my relationships. He said it so casually, like he was discussing a business decision. Which, I guess he was. "Your relationships," I repeated slowly. "You mean us. It's not personal. It's just. I've been thinking about my trajectory, and I need to be smart about this. My management team says." "Management team? Since when do you have a management team?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I signed with an agency last month. They're helping me optimize my brand presence." Last month. He'd signed with an agency last month and hadn't told me. I'd been editing his videos, filming his content, sleeping in his bed, and he hadn't mentioned it once. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you'd make it a thing. Like you're doing right now." "Make it a thing?" My voice cracked. "We're supposed to be partners. You said we were building this together." And we did. But now I need to think about the next level. And honestly, he looked away, and I saw something in his face that made my stomach drop. Discomfort. Maybe even disgust. "You're kind of holding me back." The coffee shop noise faded to white static. Holding you back. Don't take it the wrong way. You've been great, really supportive and everything. But my audience is evolving. They want to see growth, transformation, and independence. The couple's content was good for a phase, but now I need to show them a different side of me. The ambitious, focused, self-made side. Self-made. The word tasted like acid. I filmed your videos, I said quietly. I edited them. I stayed up until 3 in the morning researching trends for you. I canceled plans with my friends, skipped classes, spent my own money on props and equipment. You're not self-made. You're just made. His jaw tightened. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so focused on credit, on recognition. It's exhausting. Do you know how much pressure I'm under? How many people are counting on me? I can't deal with your neediness on top of everything else. Neediness. That's what he called loving him. So what are you saying? I'm saying we should take a break. Just for a few months while I lock in some major deals. Then maybe we can revisit things. A break, I whispered. You want a break? It's what's best for both of us. You can focus on school, your own stuff. And I can focus on this critical growth phase without distractions. Distractions? I was a distraction now. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out steady. You know what? You're right. We should take a break. A permanent one. For the first time, he looked uncertain. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. I'm being clear. If I'm holding you back, if I'm a distraction, if I'm exhausting, then you shouldn't have to deal with me anymore. Good luck with your empire. I walked out before he could see me cry. The next 2 weeks were a blur of pain so sharp I could barely breathe. I cried until my eyes swelled shut. I checked his social media obsessively, torturing myself with every post. And he was posting constantly, gym content, motivational quotes, aesthetic shots of him looking pensively into the distance. The comments poured in. King behavior. This energy is unmatched. Whoever lost you messed up. He heard that last one. Then came the video that shattered what was left of my heart. My glow up journey, how I went from 0 to 2 million followers. I watched it alone in my apartment, my roommate out for the night. The thumbnail showed him looking directly at the camera, confident and polished, with text that read, "Self-made success story." The video was 12 minutes long. 12 minutes of him talking about his journey, his struggles, his perseverance. He showed clips of his early content, including footage I had filmed. He talked about grinding alone, about trusting the process, about cutting out negativity and staying focused. Not once did he mention me. Not once. There were shots in that video, shots I had taken, angles I had suggested, moments I had captured, and he presented them as if he'd done it all himself, like I had never existed. The comments were even worse. This is so inspiring. Love how real you are about your journey. Your independence is everything. Someone asked, "What happened to your girlfriend? You guys were cute together." His response, pinned at the top, "Just focusing on myself right now." Sometimes you have to go solo to reach your full potential. I stared at that comment until the words blurred. He'd reduced our entire relationship, 2 years of my life, my love, my labor, to an obstacle he'd overcome. I wanted to scream. I wanted to make a video of my own, exposing everything. I wanted to comment, to message his followers, to burn down the carefully constructed image he'd built on my back. But I didn't. Because a part of me was terrified that if I spoke up, I'd look exactly how he'd painted me. Bitter, needy, jealous. The crazy ex-girlfriend who couldn't handle his success. So I stayed silent. I unfollowed him, blocked him, tried to move on. Then, 3 days after that video posted, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your ex-boyfriend. I have screenshots you're going to want to see." My hands trembled as I opened the attached images. They were DMs. His DMs. To another girl. Time-stamped from 2 months ago, when we were still together. "You're so beautiful. Your content is fire. Been following you for a while. I would love to collaborate sometime. Maybe grab dinner and discuss ideas. My girlfriend doesn't understand this world like you do. It's lonely at the top. Send me your number. Let's keep this between us for now." I scrolled through message after message, my heart hammering. This wasn't just one conversation. The girl had sent me an entire folder. There are more, her message continued. At least 5 other girls I've found so far. He's been running the same game on all of us. Thought you should know. Also, some of us are thinking about going public. Are you in? I stared at my phone, my mind racing. For 2 weeks, I'd been drowning in silence and heartbreak, convinced I was the problem, convinced I wasn't enough. But this changed everything. He hadn't just used me. He'd been using everyone, building his empire on a foundation of lies and manipulation, leaving a trail of broken trust behind him while he smiled for the camera and preached authenticity. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I thought about staying silent, taking the high road, being the bigger person. Then I thought about that video, about being erased, about self-made success. I typed back, "Tell me everything." Before we get to what happened next, if this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt used, erased, or manipulated by someone you loved, please hit that like button and subscribe to The Last Lesson. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their silence doesn't mean they're weak. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply step back and let the truth do its work. Now, let's talk about how everything unraveled. They say karma is patient. I learned she's also thorough. While I was rebuilding myself in private, the empire he built on lies was already cracking. I just didn't know how loud it would collapse. Her name was Melissa, and she was smarter than he ever gave her credit for. We met at a coffee shop, ironically, the same one where he'd broken up with me. She was 23, a micro-influencer with about 50,000 followers, and she'd been talking to him for 3 months. 3 months of late-night texts, voice messages where he complained about being misunderstood, promises of collaboration that always came with strings attached. He told me he was single, she said, sliding her phone across the table. Said his last relationship ended badly because his ex was jealous of his success. Made himself sound like the victim. I scrolled through their messages, my stomach turning. It was like reading a script I'd already lived. The same lines, the same manipulation, even some of the same voice messages. I recognized the background noise of his apartment, the way he lowered his voice to sound vulnerable and sincere. He asked you for money? I noticed several messages where he'd mentioned being short on rent or needing help with equipment costs. Melissa nodded, looking embarrassed. $500 total. He said once his sponsorships came through, he'd pay me back double. Obviously, that never happened. There are others? At least 5 that I've confirmed. Probably more. She pulled out her laptop, opening a shared document. We've been comparing notes. Same pattern with all of us. Love bombing. Promises of collaboration, asking for money or equipment or editing help, then ghosting once he got what he needed. I stared at the document. Names, screenshots, timelines. It was damning. It was thorough. It was everything. What are you planning to do with this? I asked quietly. Expose him. There's a drama commentary channel willing to cover it. They've been waiting for us to compile everything. But she looked at me carefully. You were with him the longest. You have the most credibility. If you're willing to speak on it, it would make the story undeniable. I sat back, my mind racing. This was the moment. The choice between silence and truth. Between protecting myself from backlash or protecting other girls from becoming his next targets. I need to think about it, I said. But I already knew my answer. I spent the next week doing something I should have done months ago. I focused on myself. I went to therapy. My therapist, Dr. Chen, had been gently suggesting for weeks that what I'd experienced wasn't just a bad breakup. It was psychological manipulation. He isolated you from your support system, made you financially and emotionally dependent on his validation, and then discarded you when you were no longer useful, she explained. That's not love. That's exploitation. Hearing it stated so plainly made something click into place. I hadn't been needy or jealous or holding him back. I'd been used. Systematically. Deliberately. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. My roommate Sarah hugged me so tight, I almost cried when I finally told her everything. I've been waiting for you to see it, she whispered. I wanted to say something so many times, but I knew you had to realize it yourself. I threw myself into my classes, remembering that I'd once had dreams that had nothing to do with being someone's behind-the-scenes support system. I'd wanted to be a writer. When had I stopped writing? And slowly, painfully, I started to feel like myself again. I didn't check his social media, didn't torture myself with his posts, didn't care about his follower count or his brand deals or his carefully curated image of success. For the first time in 2 years, I focused on my own life instead of being a supporting character in his. 3 weeks after meeting Melissa, my phone exploded with notifications. The drama channel had posted their video, Influencer Exposed, how he used women for clout, money, and content. I hadn't participated. In the end, I decided I didn't need to. My story was there. Melissa had included screenshots of his messages about me, clips from his videos that I'd filmed, proof of my erasure from his self-made narrative. But I hadn't gone on camera, hadn't made a statement. I'd simply allowed the truth to exist without my emotional labor attached to it. The video went viral within hours, not just among his followers, but across multiple platforms. Commentary channels picked it up. Twitter threads dissected every screenshot. TikTok creators made response videos. But the real damage came from what happened next. One of the girls he'd manipulated, a creator named Jasmine with a substantial following of her own, posted voice recordings. Messages he'd sent her just 2 weeks prior, while he was posting self-love and authenticity content to his main feed. In the recordings, his voice was cold, calculating, nothing like the warm, inspirational persona he showed his audience. These people are so easy to manipulate. They see what they want to see. You just have to give them the fantasy. My followers? They're a paycheck. That's it. They think we have some deep connection, but I'm literally just reading trending captions and pointing a camera at my face. That girl I was dating, she was useful for a while, but she started getting too attached. Had to cut her loose before she became a liability. The internet lost its mind. His comment sections became graveyards. Sponsors dropped him within 48 hours. I watched brands scrub their partnerships from Instagram, issuing statements about not aligning with our values. His follower count dropped precipitously. 2 million to 1.8 million to 1.5 million. He tried damage control. Posted an apology video that was so obviously scripted by a PR team that it became a meme. I'm sorry if anyone felt hurt by my actions became a punchline. His attempt to blame mental health struggles while simultaneously showing no actual accountability backfired spectacularly. More women came forward. More screenshots. More stories. The pattern was undeniable. The man who'd built his brand on authenticity was revealed as a fraud. The self-made success story was exposed as being built on the unpaid labor and emotional manipulation of women he'd used and discarded. His career didn't just take a hit. It imploded. Within a month, his engagement was decimated. The algorithm, which had once loved him, now buried his content. Comments on his old videos became archives of his downfall. This aged like milk. Imagine being this fake. We really believed you. I watched it happen from a distance, feeling something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction, not vindication, but a quiet, calm sense of closure. He'd wanted an empire. He'd gotten one built on sand. And when the tide of truth came in, there was nothing solid left to stand on. 6 weeks after everything exploded, I posted my first piece of creative writing in 2 years. Not about him. Not about the drama. Just a short story I'd been working on. Something that came from a part of me I'd forgotten existed. It got 300 likes. Modest. Small. But it was mine. Someone commented, "Your writing is beautiful. Have you thought about starting a blog?" I smiled. Maybe I would. My phone buzzed. Another message from Melissa. "How are you holding up?" I typed back, "Better than I've been in years." "You?" "Same. We should grab coffee sometime. For real. Not just trauma bonding." "I'd like that." I set my phone down and looked out my apartment window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He'd wanted followers, validation, fame. He'd gotten all of it briefly. But it wasn't built on anything real, so it couldn't last. I'd wanted love. I'd given it freely to the wrong person. But learning to give it to myself, that was something no one could take away. 2 months later, I ran into one of his former followers at a bookstore. She recognized me from the old videos. I just want to say thank you, she said quietly, for being part of exposing him. He made me feel crazy for questioning things. Seeing the truth come out, it helped me leave my own toxic situation. I'd stayed silent during the exposure. I hadn't made videos or statements or public denouncements. But somehow, by simply allowing the truth to exist, I'd still made a difference. That's when I understood I didn't need revenge. I never had. His own character was always going to catch up with him. The lies were always going to unravel. The manipulation was always going to be exposed. I just had to get out of the way and let it happen. Today, his account still exists, but it's a ghost town. A monument to what happens when you build success on exploitation. He posts occasionally, desperate attempts to rebrand, to come back, to reclaim relevance. They get hundreds of comments, but none of them are kind. Meanwhile, I'm living a life that's completely mine. I'm writing again. I've made new friends. I'm in therapy, learning how to recognize red flags, how to value myself, how to never again mistake being used for being loved. Do I regret the 2 years I spent building his empire? Sometimes. But those years also taught me what I won't accept, what I deserve, what real love should actually look like. He wanted followers. He got them and then he lost them. I wanted love. I gave it to the wrong person, but I learned to give it to the right one, myself. And that's the difference between us. His story ended with everything crumbling. Mine is just beginning. If this story touched you, if you've ever had to choose between revenge and healing, please like this video and subscribe to The Last Lesson. Your story matters. Your healing matters. And you're not alone. Comment below. Have you ever been used by someone you loved? How did you find your way back to yourself? I read every single comment, and this community is built on shared wisdom and healing. Remember this. You don't need revenge when the truth is powerful enough. You don't need to destroy someone who's already destroying themselves. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away, heal, and build a life so beautiful that their absence becomes irrelevant. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that being used doesn't define their worth. That silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's wisdom. That the best revenge is becoming the person you were always meant to be. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this community where we learn, grow, and heal together. Until next time, remember, what's built on lies will always crumble. What's built on truth, especially the truth of your own worth, that's what lasts forever. Like, subscribe, and share this lesson. See you in the next story.